Hey guys, I asked what you would do if the Earth froze and the world's temperature dropped by more than 80 degrees. I don't know about you, but our protagonist Zhang, with hatred in his heart, planned everything to get revenge and speak PR to you. Huh, the miserable wretch worked again. The explosion of a supernova bugged the temperature of the Earth. Our protagonist knew this to happen and gathered tons of food with his skill. Dimension storage unit. As time passed, the snow continued to fall, and it became impossible to leave their homes or their neighboring buildings were cold after a week and had nothing left to eat. Meanwhile, PR is there, full of things to eat. Guys call after the food was running out. The news is that he had a lot of food spread throughout the building. Everyone tried to go to his apartment and steal his food, and everyone failed miserably. First, it only took one warning, then patience began to dwindle to the point where Yushings __ tried to do the same. In his past life, he convinced his friends to go steal the food and Butiko do Prota, but unlike his life last time, Prota was prepared. He gathered everyone into the forest. The survivors fled, running, and Xing got a slap in the face because she was to blame. Her friends now need medicine that only the angry had on the phone. She begs for forgiveness for medicine. She begs to go live with Prota, and at that moment Prota despises her, and her friends say she won't give medicine to her friends and bye. Thank you. Don't even call the old man. Then they go and enjoy it a little longer, and the next day, in the morning, people from another building, they dug a tunnel under the snow to the Prota building. Everyone they saw in front of them was enemies. First, he was unlucky and only got one, and it was due to a rollover. I died. They already knew about the sturdy door. They took dynamite to open the door. By force, one of them lit it, ran, and damage was done by the explosion. The absurd noise of this explosion made him wake up, and then went to check what it was. It was through the cameras. He saw they were construction workers who live in the neighborhood. They went to check with the certainty that the explosion was going to destroy the door, but nothing happened due to anger. From this attempt to take what he had, Prota retaliated with malice. A granita simply solved the cold problem. Other guys, after warming them all up, Prota used his glow and put several to sleep. Also, their bullets are running out as their ballistic supplies are few, and this served to confirm that people in other buildings must know about his stock. They will also come after him. These explosions and shots caused our beautiful doctor is scared. After all, there is only one place in the world where it is normal to hear these noises every day. She is embarrassed, realized that it was over, and disguised himself, and went to do his housework now, so it was clear that he should take action. In the group of residents, everyone asked what was that noise before, and the silver guy was smart as always. He said that other residents from other buildings tried to blow up his house to rob it, and would soon rob him. The other houses were fine too, but he kicked them out of the building, and some he kicked out of this life. Help here for everyone. They thanked Prota in the group. He then called his uncle to get more information. This group that now came to the sound of Building 26 are led by a certain Wan Chan Fong. The uncle's information is that he did the same thing that Shinzeng did in that building. It overturned the residents and took over the leadership of the place, and also stole their food. The PR then made it clear to his uncle that it flipped a lot of the guys when they came here, so they will come back for revenge. They must unite the neighboring residents and defend this place later. Speaking only to Zikaro, Prota says that the neighbors here will stab you in the back when they get the chance. So she must take on the mission of gathering information about who the groups in the other buildings are together with her uncle IU. The neighbors won't do any harm. Then 2 days passed, and she was dressed like me, telling everything them. Your intelligence service discovered it, and you stopped looking in the wrong place and pay attention. Zur explains that the groups, the strongest that dominate the neighborhood, are a group from Building 26, who came here 2 days ago, and another group from Building 21. Even so, There are two other groups of buildings that have not yet taken any type of action, but also have strengths considerable. With just that, he deduced that the other resident buildings had already toppled over among themselves at the same time. Instead of joining forces, they are no longer a threat. Grateful for the good work, he tells her to continue collecting information. And for some reason she blushed. Maybe she was thinking something else happened, right guys? Maybe not? Happened. The same group from Building 26 went to the PR building, and this time, they started to overturn the other apartments in the building. They left a message that while Proto don't leave, all the other residents will die soon. This information if spread among the groups in the building and interfered with our couple's exercise. The residents of the building were demanding that Proto took action, and when he saw this, that anger returned. He sent a message and then audios on Zap saying that they are all worthless to him. He doesn't have to do anything, and they can fend for themselves, but that was just a strategy. Soon after, PRA called his uncle Yu, saying that now it's his turn to shine in the group in the building. He says that the gang from Building 26 are only 20 people. If they get together in this building and fight, they can win. And when it's Uncle Yu speaking, everyone starts to agree. Uncle also says in the chat that he hasn't eaten for days and has no strength. The only one here who is strong and well-fed is Proto. He is the only one who has the strength to lead everyone in this undertaking. With this to send in the chat that it can help to face the rival building as long as everyone follows their orders. Everyone says they accept yes, as long as these orders do not put their lives in danger. Then calm down in your home, eating better than people who aren't in the apocalypse. He says we have to take risks, yes, otherwise they should just wait for the group from Building 26 to come here and kill them all behind their doors. It's very safe and full of food and other things too, with the uncle on one side encouraging everyone to agree to follow for them. They accept to obey even if they are in danger. So to motivate the hungry, Proto said that he has a vehicle that can walk outside in the snow. If they face the group from Building 26, he can go outside and get food for. They even question how he's going to beat the cold. He says that's not a problem. All the neighbors agree to obey everything, even the smallest things. Dangerous in the hope of not being overturned by neighbors, and mainly in the hope of gaining food. Now everyone without exception will accept Proto as the building's supreme leader. You'll see guys what Proto is a manipulator, and now that everyone sees him as a savior, Proto will make his first exploration outside in search of resource with your vest and special clothing for cold. Whether this won't be a problem. When Z wanted to say he was going with him, Proto said that she should never leave the apartment, and says that he trusts her 100% to stay here, locked up without him there. But when the poor guy is about to leave, he snaps his fingers and takes all the supplies out of the apartment. Really trust me, poor thing. He goes down to the 4th floor of the building, and he manages to jump out of a window. So the snow is already on the 4th floor of the building. Anyone who walks here ignoring the cold will sink into the snow, then dies. Fortunately, he had stored in his dimensional space a snowmobile. A person in one of the buildings saw the scene. I don't know if he saw him riding the motorcycle. I just saw him riding it sometime later. Where did he get to? He wanted the city police station on white breaking glass. He entered without difficulty. His goal is to get more weapons and ammunition, but deep inside the police station, he found the police officers who were on duty that night without warm clothing heaters. The first night of extreme cold was the last to show your respect for the police, and says that they were once heroes who once protected this city, and now they must rest in peace by covering the bodies. He noticed the key to the place. With it, he can open everything that is here, even the weapons room, by entering the place. Paradise for many people, all kinds of weapons and ammunition to choose from, even a cool rifle. He put everything in his dimensional robbery space, and Dale now Proto says that now he needs to get food for his bushings. Cannon returning to his snowmobile, walking to the place where the city's shopping center should be, digging in the ground. He found the roof of the place, breaking the glass, and walking around the place, he stole everything that could have any. When arriving at the supermarket, all the fruits were stoned due to the cold, the meats were also there, all the food was there. Spoiled, but that would be good for those who have nothing to eat. He threw whatever could be into the bag. Best bet getting back on the bike, he goes back to his building. The leader of Building 26, watching through the window, realized that he managed to go out to get food and was biting himself with envy, and was going to steal this motorcycle besides. After that, all the residents of the building heard the noise of the motorcycle, and also saw the same thing. Your uncle saw that his nephew managed to come back alive, and with more food, and was happy. Proto made it clear to everyone, it was difficult to go outside when it was so cold, finding food buried in the snow. It was even worse, Uncle Yu then shouted, calling Proto a hero, and with this spoiled food gun in hand, he ordered that all those who choose to take in food, you have to be ready to obey his orders. Flowers from Building 26, as expected, came after, saying hand over the food or your life. At the first order of the PRA, it was right now, they are going to steal your food, you are going until then and eliminate them. Everyone who makes at least one kill will receive food for CCOD, as simply you that. They could get 5 days worth of food. Everyone went crazy and attacked the residents of the gang in Building 26. They didn't understood how weak and fearful people became so crazy from one moment to the next. They were rolled up. Dick breaking father Ye and his fiancée watched all who defeated the enemies celebrate their victory. Some who survived fled back to Building 26. The wounded from our side knew it could save them, but it knew it would need to use medicine and food out of just kindness, so gave up on the idea because he also knew that Proto would not accept the injured freeze to death. And I'll ask here again, do you think PR has a villain, an anti-hero? I don't know what the guy just does. What stops this guy from surviving, or is the guy really bad? Because from then on he starts using everyone. In a clever way, he brought everyone together and congratulated those who were MVPs in the battle and had the most kills. They received his offer on food bonuses. This was premeditated to encourage everyone to go all out for him. One by one were obeying the guy with a gun in his hand and the owner of the food. No one had happiness on their faces, but when it was time for a person that Proto saw who acted softly, he despised, he just kicked a candy at him. The guy complained about this. It wasn't fair because he would only receive that, and Proto questions whether he has the courage to complain, yet the boy doesn't. Did nothing and stayed back there just shouting for the others to attack those who received less food. Were now sad. They weren't happy to know that there was someone worse than them trying. Chul said there were a lot of people fighting. He couldn't find a way to join the fight team, and he then made it clear that he doesn't care. He only cares about the results. Angrily he insisted that he was treating him in a special way, so PR took advantage of the moment, ordered 2 neighbors to hold him. Displeased, he just shouted what he should do to disobey the boss's orders, and the stick is breaking P after making it clear what happens to those who complain. The guy who was caught, as an example, had the candy in his hand, so he stepped on it and took the candy, took the poor guy's hair, and made it clear work equals food, no work equals no food. He ordered Zer would keep the rest of the supplies because everyone had already taken their parts. In the crowd he heard a familiar voice came crawling from underneath the fan, and Xing and his blood-sucking friend both said that they didn't take their food, and if Big Brother Zingy didn't forget about them. He humbly stops, as he always says, that he doesn't care. Forgot about them. Soker saved the food because there's nothing for them crying. Now Fan Xing asks why he doesn't like her anymore after years of flattery, and with a slap in the face he says, for her to leave his side, he never liked her, and now he's engaged to the wonderful woman he thought she was. One of the women says this. Then she's a freeloading slut, and Proto agrees, saying that she only lived tricking rich kids to get their money. The guy who just got humiliated, Chul, said that this one has used him many times to get money from him. So the others men there say that if they had known that it was being sold before the apocalypse, they would have also taken advantage of it being so. Humiliated, she put her foot down and ran away. For some reason, two guys grabbed her friend, her bloodsucker, and dragged her to another place by their faces. And because they are covering her mouth, I imagine they were going to feed her to her Chul for telling the truth about Fong using and helping Proto receive something better to eat, and now she swore that will do his best for the master after the show to start organizing the fortification of the building in their building. There are 47 adults who can work now, excluding Proto Zertiu and his wife Sh May. Everyone else will form 6 groups of 7 people and take turns guarding the building stairs 24 hours a day. When you get here, you must shout, make noise, and warn all the other Chuyu, as an ex-army veteran will organize all groups and will be in the lead. Back in the comfort of his home, the prod was studying something, and Zur asked if it stopped snowing now, what would happen, as he took his weapons out of dimensional high storage. Said that it's winter now, it would stay at least a month until all the snow melts, and besides, in the apocalypse the biggest danger is not the extreme climate, but the people, and now, with this wallop, he has the chance to face his enemies without having to come down from his house. He noticed that in the scope of his gun, some people were going to the garage of the building, are definitely going to behind his snowmobile, and Proto pretends to leave it there, but stocks it in his warehouse. This moment Tu calls Proto, saying that the defense team was properly organized, and asked him not to take seriously what Shim said. That time they went to get medicine. He is very talkative. Even Proto says he doesn't care about it, but asks it the uncle you really wants to raise someone else's child in difficult times. Strong men are very valuable. He could get any woman he wanted, i.e. a woman without children, but noticing his uncle's discomfort, Proto says that Shay Mei is also a good woman since he chose her, and if that's the case, he should give her a mouthful in it. Also, not to just raise other people's children, but still uncomfortable. Uncle says that at this moment in Revelation, if he should have more children, and he goes back to his work and talks about the subject after hanging up, he tells him to do it. These children's matters must be thought about calmly, and the attacker left. In the tunnel that they excavated before, the people from Building 26 return quietly, planning to carry out hidden thefts. The first of them almost got a stone in the teeth. Ice Head, look at the stone today. Resident on guard shouted enemy attack, and they started a vicious fight on the stairs. The group from Building 26 didn't count that now Building 25 was so well protected, and those who survived outside fled, taking advantage of Boa Vista. So I saw the enemies running away, and says he really wanted to make some popcorn by taking his Alpa from the warehouse. In the scope, he could perfectly see an absurd calm, even knowing the result of pulling a trigger. The fugitives fleeing, one of them got popcorn right in the coconut. The others, realizing what it was, started running with even more panic. The prot, so he thought to himself, this feeling is very good, and decided to enjoy all the opportunities more. Popcorn was accurate. It was in the coconut, and in the clock was 7 capsules on the floor. They were 7 hams and Neve, and with that he was sure. He left a notice for all the neighbors in the building on the day. Next, Sir brought the food, saying he is practicing his cooking. Furthermore, he asked, what was the noise yesterday night on the balcony without hiding anything. Proto says he put his finger on 7 crazy people. He overturned 7 people. The reaction of the woman simply went to say that Proto is incredible. Proto even asks if she isn't curious. Why is he used an Alp to do this? He just wants to say that this has nothing to do with her, and no matter what he did, she is with him, and it's better than dying out there whatever he does. That is, he doesn't care what you do with the others out there in the Prot even praises her, saying she's a stranger. People don't have unnecessary curiosities. He likes that in a woman. Meanwhile, on the other side, the residents of Building 26 looked at the bodies in the snow. One of them is the relative of their boss, worried because they didn't get any food and now they lack men to be able to follow your plans. With that in mind, Aunt Fong got pissed and ordered the bodies of David and the rest to be brought here by. Less like this, they would have more food, you know. There's a people's meal going on, __, so right, guys? Shit is crazy. Meanwhile, the para decided to go out to do another round, and everyone respects him now, and of course, they feel very scared with headphones. With Uncle Yu, the PR is now sure that the building is safe. He can leave without concern. Meanwhile, the leader of Building 26 could only be bitter. If he got this bike, he could leave to get Zingaros and food. Those who went first to look for their motorcycle found nothing and simply went overturned, so the anger only grows. He stopped with his motorcycle. He managed to get where he wanted, the district of machines and cars. Imported goods are so big, the warehouses, that they were not covered by the snow, still breaking the ceiling. He came down with a rope inside and put everything in this infinite dimensional robbery warehouse of his. Currently, these cars of luxury has no value at all, but at some point they could have it again. The next step was to go to the gas station. Fuel, he needs it for his generators and machines, including his snowmobile, and unfortunately for him, the well. He was completely buried in the snow. It was impossible to dig 10 m of snow with his hand, frustrated that his plans didn't work out. Right. At least once, he throws himself into the snow, thinking how good it would be if gasoline were infinite for him. It was. Thinking about this, he remembered that he has a giant excavator stored too, and with some fuel that he managed to dig through the snow, and it didn't take that long until he managed to make his way to the post under the snow. Inside the place are the well warehouse tanks, and because they are protected inside this place, here they luckily are not frozen. All he needs is to seal the tanks and store them whole inside his storage space. Dimensional robbery. For a moment, he realizes that with this and his excavator, he can dig and get any resource that is buried, and no one can access it. Meanwhile, in the building, a neighbor's child was with high fever. Zur went there to take care of the child, but he couldn't do much because he always carries the medicines with him. Fortunately, Uncle comes with the medicine left over from his girlfriend's son and gives it to the child and tells the mother that he is going. Everything is going to be okay, thanks to Prota's help. The child's fever went down, however. Zur reminded the mother to be careful, as they may get a fever again. They had barely left their mother's side. You hear a scream. Tin Lion attacked the child. The mother, in the impulse to protect her son, got in front and was overturned by the boys. By UMS, according to Zur, managed to stop the baby from falling to the ground. Chalin went crazy, saying that because they didn't have helped your grandson, he didn't survive, so no one has the right to have a child here anymore. Alinda Zur determined to save the child. He ran with her up the stairs. Shilin managed to hold the doctor's leg, as well as the children's mother, or whether she protected her with her body. She had Lin. She was determined to overturn everything in front of her. Guys, no, and died. Uncle Yu punches Aunt Lin in the chest, threw her at the top of the stairs. He arrived in time to save her. Boss's wife, he said. He wouldn't forgive himself for failing to keep everything safe, including the boss's wife. Chalin was furious with all of them. So, Uncle, you made it clear that Prota eliminated Shinzung. That's why they are all insurance. Everyone is fine. Besides, Zur says that after Shinzung was eliminated, she herself begged to give medicine to Aunt Lin's grandson, but when she went to deliver the medicine, then she knew that Lin had really overturned her own grandson to eat. Yes, she made Netanho's soup, a soup for. We leave the old woman there screaming in denial. The men who came with Tu say she must pay for her bad things, and they can help with that. According to them, that burns very well, and it's been a while since they've had a good bonfire. Speak up. Did you warm up at this bonfire? I don't know either. Returning to Proto, he left the house and he slept in the tent at the gas station, and now he is going out for more exploration with his excavator. He went to the military station of the city. Excavating, he had access to the military base, but the place was all abseiling. No military supply, everything was taken. All he thought is that the military leaders with this equipment are who will take power from society, who survive the cold, and if that was the case, he should arm himself to protect himself. Even of these people, while digging for something else, he accidentally broke the wall of the military camps, and to our psychopath's surprise, not everything was taken by the army. A quantity absurd amount of weapons and ammunition in this place, and it all ended up in Prota's dimensional robbery warehouse. After so much weather outside, he returned home with his snowmobile, this time without food. The neighbors realized he was without food and immediately started complaining, but this time, even with the whole day, he couldn't find nothing. But if they want, they can go back to having to go outside and look for their own food and not follow him. Moraine calls them ungrateful for complaining. Proto realized that by not having brought food one day, they were already felt unfair for their work defending the building, and not being paid for it, even though they said the discussion. Eventually some of the villagers approached him, suggesting that they should be taken next time to help him looking for food and resting. Not only Proto, but even we noticed this strange guy with his hand hidden behind the back. The guy made a hand position that I already knew the next step was just bro Coco. The guy fell on the others who were together apologized, but Proto makes it clear that there is no forgiveness for betrayal. Put his finger on everyone. At least 4 of them went to sleep forever. The rest ran for their lives for the window. The noise caught Tu's attention, and they ran there worried. He just says everything is fine. Well, they were just traitors, he responded with mercy, to then say that they were too comfortable, and if they forgot their place, and who they should be grateful to. So go home as if nothing mattered. Nothing much happened. SH kind of sits there thinking that this is mercy. It's just in showing others what happens if you face him. If no one questions what happened, they go home while thinking that their bushes of cannons are ending up in his comfortable home. He asks if anything important had happened in the time that he was away. She says that he had a line. He had gone crazy because of the death of his grandson and overturned a mother, but the residents have already solved her case. Also, someone from another building called Shin Ling wanted to discuss something with Abrota, and the specific details. She didn't just say that she was to cooperate with him without knowing what this person could offer. Proto not connected everything he needs now. He already has it out there. What people can do is wait to die of hunger or cold. So queer curious if he would just ignore this woman's request. He said he doesn't need anything, and he also doesn't need to be in a hurry to answer Silver, so he asks for any information he knows about her, and what she knows is that Xingling used to own a cosmetics company and now controls completely Building 9. The only surprise from Proto was how the woman had the power to take control of a entire building alone. Out of this curiosity, Zoe wants to know what he is going to say to the woman on his phone. I already had a message from her, and from the leader of another building. He also went to Shelling asking what she wants. I wanted to speak by voice. Proto said he didn't have the patience for that. He spoke by text even on the other end of the line. Sherling just thought that this person rounded up the Pred 26 people. He has a snowmobile, a rifle, and the guy is really tough. She says they heard about him and know he has a snowmobile, so he asks what she has to do. Offer basically, she says her 76 workers who can use their snowmobile to look for food. Also in summary, she wants the motorbike, and for him to give them food so they have the strength to look for more food with his motorbike, and that he knows that soon all the buildings in the neighborhood will turn against him, so it's smart for him to have allies soon. Unhappy with this, he asks what happens if he refuses. He has never seen beggars asking for food with threats. Schelling then was calm and made it clear that currently Proda is an egg for all neighboring buildings. It is a matter of time for everyone to unite against him to attack him, so it is the best choice for him to cooperate with the stronger side in this situation. Proda asked for time to think about it, hanging up the phone and looking at the other buildings. He knew that his house is impenetrable, but if all he did they could collapse his building in an extreme situation while I was thinking of some way out. Someone else calls your phone this time. It was Leninho. He also asked to cooperate. Your building 18 has been pacified and everyone cooperates with each other by distributing resources between them, and that their focus is maintain people's humanity. He is willing to help building 25 in not conflicting with the other buildings. And whatever service he has in return, he just wants a little supply or asks to do how. They are the people from building 18. The information they have is that Lenina unified all the residents after the apocalypse, but his resources for so many people will not last long. He also replied that he needed to think soon, and soon several people also sent him messages. All leaders from other buildings, remembering that the neighborhood has a total of 30 buildings. The Proto then went to show all the people he might have had to kill, and in that instant in the doctor's mind is that she made the right choice in joining Proto, and this time he decided to ask advice for his girlfriend. But the strange thing is that at the same time he put his Jubilee there and asked what was better, to cooperate or destroy them all. Then she couldn't even answer properly, right? Because she could concentrate, right guys? After a lot of exercise he asked her to cut a waterproof vest of bullets for him to put in his legs. His plan now is as follows. In the group of residents of his building he told that the neighbors in the other buildings have threatened him to hand over the snowmobile or will attack the building if he does so. Everyone in the building will have to start hunting for their own food from now on, so everyone is against this and ready to follow Prota's orders to go against the other buildings. It didn't take long to be placed in a new group where only building leaders had access. They made it clear that if they refused to follow all the terms, will become the public enemy of all the other buildings. They placed all the demands he wanted there and left. Everything happened as they wanted. Prota had the brilliant idea, decided to cooperate, and set up a meeting with all the leaders. His idea was to eliminate all leaders. The rest of the residents without their leaders would not be able to organize against him. The location was agreed. Prota came down and marked all the followers in his building and kind of stopped. Encourage everyone. He gave high-quality food, saying that they need to be strong to defend their home. One of them even asked if they could have hoped that one day there would be peace again, and Prota said that not only that, but also peace. If everything goes well, there will be no more food problems for anyone here. Motivated, everyone is now idolizing their savior and willing to do anything for him. Leaving through the tunnel and not through the windows. The Prota and all residents went to the marketplace. Even from afar he noticed something strange. There are a lot of people here. So he ordered Chuyu and the rest of the villagers to come too. Furthermore, he will stay behind, hiding in the need with his rifle in the Chuyu negotiation field, and the villagers ahead, and the leaders of everyone else. Buildings grouped around one of ours even said that they didn't seem to want to negotiate, and the other adds that they seem to want to destroy them more. With so many of them here, if they attacked it, they wouldn't have a chance. But Chu stated that their objective is to make Prota cooperate and not attack us. This would not help the owners of the buildings at all. 26-5. 21-9-18 were confident the PRA can be intimidating, but against so many people, he doesn't have the power to face them all, he says. One of them says he doesn't see the Proto, so he must be scared. After seeing our numbers, the situation is completely in their favor. Chan Fan shouts that he show up soon for the negotiations. Chuyu says that the leader is just going to meet the leaders, so they should come this way. Shanling and the others don't agree and ask if they aren't afraid of death. Realizing how things are going, the Prot calls Uncle Yu to tell him to stay away from the other groups. The smart Uncle Yu only warned him at the moment, and did it with that his group retreated at that distance. Proto whistled to attract everyone's attention in the open field. They knew exactly where the noise was coming from, and they didn't even know where the grenade he threw into the middle of the groups came from. And the whole crowd exploded. A huge explosion happened, resulting. It was a hole where everyone nearby was obliterated. Uncle Yu put the phone on speaker behind the leaders and asked if they have any questions for him. Mang Kong in shock asked, "Why is there so much violence?" And Proto over the phone questions more than 1,000 people for a negotiation already going to. Inside his building he says there are 5 minutes left until the scheduled time if they don't agree to speak to him now. Building 25 will not join them, and it turns out Shanling speaks for everyone that they will accept him in one of the apartments. Proto was there content with just one grenade. Dozens of them went ditch. This will convince everyone to obey him, and there are only 20 more grenades, so it's good to save even some time. Later the leaders ran up the stairs of the building to get to the marked place. As there were no elevators, everyone was tired. He just asked if they were. Everyone here confirmed that it was. Just then the meeting began. The residents in the room began to state their conditions calmly and how he should cooperate with them. Not satisfied with this, Proto took out his Glock and placed at the table. Instantly everyone was in shock. Proto said he was only bothered by it around his waist, so no, get upset and carry on. They can't ignore this, and they say that if everyone here out there rolls over, will join forces against him. So Proto decides to take the lead in the discussion and says, "First, I don't agree with the orders providing so much food for so many people. It is impossible for me. The most I can offer are 10 meals a day for each building. How you will distribute it is up to you to decide." Shanling was indignant. She says, which is very little. Only her building has 76 people. How is she going to do? Right, woman, it's the Prot's problem now. He put his argument. It's either this or it's war. The woman with no way out. Chan Fong took the lead, saying that Shanling didn't represents everyone they want to accept, but that won't convince everyone to cooperate, and running out of food will be a problem. The Prot cocks his Glock, asking if that's really not enough for them. Little guy, who is the most peaceful of everyone, took the lead, saying that what they want with Kanmar is always better than a shot in the coconut. At this moment, Proto puts his foot on the table and says that the food is not infinite. Even if you look around, the moment will end. He pulled out a bunch of seeds from his pocket. He threw on the table. His point is they should start growing their own food and make it yield for himself. Tian Fong then asks what sense it makes to plant in the ice. Using his glow to strengthen his argument, he said that there is land outside under the snow, and snow is water, so there will be no shortage of elements to plant crops. Only mission is all the buildings must put their men to dig and plant every day. In return he will give up the 10 meals for each building. Additionally, he can give medicine, drinks, and sindar. Upon hearing this, 2 crazy people who are try-hard level smokers forget everything and say that they can accept any something. If you can, take a pinch or take a closed wallet out of your magic pocket and let them try it out. While they are chiming, he stands there asking if they agree. They can all win every day. A closed wallet with a little line, "I wanted to talk something more, but..." Pants come forward saying that they accept anything as long as they can give a pinch. 3 leaders. They still have to respond, intimidated by the person with the Glock in his hand, who already convinced 2 people, was already one of the leaders. Pressured the rest to accept. The 2 are already on Prota's side now. They want to please him at any cost. For more than the others wanted to discuss further, the 2 do not open up while Prota goes to the window and realizes that the residents of the buildings are starting to move. So your reaction is to move your Glock towards the leaders and asking what What is this? Mankian was already bought. He stated that all the leaders are here. There is no reason for anyone to attack them. Laninia then says that they must be attacking on their own, or so she shouts at other people. Enter the room. Everyone here is trapped until this is resolved. Meanwhile, Prota takes out his rifle. I don't know. Since no one saw the magic happen to his mirror, he identifies the people who are leading the rebellion with a blind eye. Perfect. The leaders were overturned in droves. The PRA was overturning everyone who was in front, and the leaders in the room, sitting down, were terrified to hear what was happening. With each click, it was someone falling. For a few minutes, and the Prota, he was calm, saying that the situation was resolved. He asked if everyone agreed with the negotiation, so the two smokers said yes. The rest who did not want to accept were forced to accept. The last one was honest Lingjian, who accepted. Now everyone is in agreement, and tomorrow afternoon, they will start work. Leaving the room, he patted Leninho on the back and asked him to do a good job. In the meantime, he will keep an eye on him. No eye games with guns, right, guys? Leaving the building, every leader seemed nervous, and residents were curious about what happened and how they controlled the situation. Make an agreement to give them about 300 meals every day. Not happy with that because they should so much food. Silver uses this to his advantage, according to him. If it weren't for that, they should fight against more than 1,000 residents alone, and this would certainly lead to the death of many of them here. So he couldn't have not accepted it, and that's why he gave up so much food for their well-being. Now all the residents of Building 25 are crying with so much emotion. Prota is the only one who could lead and take care of them all so well. They all left after only Uncle Yu. He stayed there. And the dull old man says that things are not happening as he imagined they would happen, so he took his uncle to a more private place, and there he told the truth that his plan was to eliminate the leaders of all the apartments in A. Only once, but they only sent 5 most influential leaders, so the plan was postponed. If he had overturned the 5 leaders, there the mountain of people who were outside would join together against him, and would be more motivated, so Building 25 could come crumbling. Now, the old man understood why there wasn't so much destruction now. It's because there will be later. He understood, and he is impressed. And as his nephew is so meticulous in calculating things, Prota continues. Now it is a matter of time. The other residents will weaken as the days go by. 300 meals are not enough, and they will destroy themselves inside fighting over the little food that is being provided to them. The PR, so make it clear to the uncle, don't talk from that to no one else. Going back to his luxury house, there was his wife doing yoga. What a difficult life for them, right? Guys, after so much work, Sir wanted to know how the negotiations went. His answer was that in the next few days, everything what they have to do now is that he threw her on the bed and says she shouldn't leave the house for the next few days, so be prepared, woman. After a hot night, the next day outside it was cold, but still everyone was ready to dig. As promised, their mission is to get up to 10 m of snow down and find the ground and plant the Prapen passes through them to check if everything is being done as he asked. Then he goes away to get his snowmobile. The other 2 leaders said they looked and couldn't find his motorcycle nowhere. Where could he hide this motorcycle? Where would it be? Guys, the Prota's objective today went to find a veterinary clinic. There he knew he could find poison they use to beat animals that don't. There is more salvation, and he found it, and said that with that amount, he could easily beat 300 people of meals that could not find medical treatment, because the only doctor in the region is his. Returning home, he think about when the right time will be to use this on the way back. Prota made a point of showing that got enough supplies, and went back to his building. Everyone was amazed at how he got so much this time. With the phone, he warned the buildings that they should come and collect their parts as per the agreement. The leaders of each building sent only 3 people for this, and perhaps it was the fear of being ambushed again. Little by little, the 30 neighboring buildings caught their share of the first day of meals, and everyone was happy to start seeing the food arrive, and the proto heard that the workers were tired of hard work today, but it was worth it, so his plan was working out, returning to his comfortable home. His home was always there. He had everything he needed there until he could take a hot bath every day in the other buildings. Wang Qian saw his subordinate arrive with the food. The first thing he did was check, and if he had cigarettes. His subordinates immediately said they were suffocating, they couldn't breathe. If there isn't a pinch, even if he really didn't want one, he gave one to everyone, and soon everyone was very relaxed. And now they could think about food, the second most important thing for them. He let everyone eat until he was sure he wasn't poisoned. Then finally he calmed down. His friends were sure he had food, but the other workers in his building were waiting for their share to arrive. But that didn't happen that night. Proto calmly left his bath and overheard the discussions about the lack of food and the distribution. Meanwhile, he and his wife were lining the trike the next day. Everyone was digging, so they were going out for another trip. Round the area before leaving, he left one more warning for his uncle. He should be careful because of the lack of food. People could cause confusion. After that, he went with his snow horn after more food. A few hours later he came back and made sure to bring even less food. He told everyone that the search for food, it's unpredictable. They will have to deal with less food this time. Their plan was to accelerate the internal fights this time. One day in rival buildings, people started throwing each other out to have fewer mouths to share the food. While the many fell to the overturn, he was warm in his house, listening to music and preparing equipment. The next day, he saw the result. Dozens and dozens of people thrown from the buildings were left. Marks of the discussion. Some asked if they had to work today. Also, the para coldly walking through the bodies says that if they don't want to be like these people, they have to dig. Yes, everyone ran to dig in the snow, and what the proto observed most his uncle is that few people came to work today, but also, how many people are sleeping? Well, Proto basically only has people from Proto's team here. But tomorrow that will change, and then he left and sent a message for all the residents of the neighborhood. Those who don't work won't have food and no cigarettes tomorrow. The next day the number of workers was almost normal, and you yourself ask why so many people return to work even though they knew that they won't have food for everyone. The Prop Mio says that they are already here to get their food. The bodies are disappearing little by little. When he left, Shinling came to him to talk. She was there all dirty and worried, and she wanted to talk about the current situation. If they continue like this with so little food, the residents will kill each other among themselves and it will be the end for them. She proposes that they have to find a way around this. They can think in a scientific way to solve the problem of lack of food for everyone. They could even think about expanding their territory. If they work together, they could create a kingdom at this end of the world. The Prota's eyes were full of evil. He says that she wants to deceive people to rise to power, and also says that because of how she does things, many in her buildings, they're dead. Her way of negotiating is what made her rise to power, but that won't work with him. Prota Joga far away and says that people like her die young, and she shouldn't count on him for anything. Everything that's left for her. She went to pray for him to change his mind and make her his right-hand man. He leaves her behind, and strangely, despite all the residents of Lenin's building had no casualties. They were all alive and working. Curious as to what this is like possible, he went to Lenino asking how he managed to keep all his people alive and cooperating with Prota. Was insinuating that he must be doing something wrong, hiding the truth. All the blocks are at war. Internal for food. Lenim's response, it was simple. He said he didn't hide anything personal from him. He let them know of everything and how everything was done, and the little food they received they distributed equally among them, being so the silver played. Then the result is that everyone died of hunger equally. Then pleased to know this, the Prota Leninho leaves and asks him to wait as he could help his residents. Prota then says that with skill that he has in leading people. He could choose only the strongest people in his group and make them have food, but instead prefers to maintain honesty, try to protect everyone, and in the end everyone will die of hunger, but together he leaves the poor guy there talking to himself with the thought that the right thing would be to think about himself and abandon others too. To stay alive, Proto went to the leaders, who had no complaints with the food they were receiving, giving themselves. Very well, he says that if they needed anything they can ask him in his shadows. We can see what. Who is our protagonist, guys? He sympathizes with those who are taking advantage of others and belittles those who are trying to be honest, encouraging all groups to destroy themselves. Other building leaders went to PR, asking to have benefits that Wang Ke and Tian Fong have only Singeros. More everyone who was there were getting along well, and were dealing with their building in the same way as the two of them, and were there to get the benefits that they have also been taken by surprise. He says that from tomorrow everyone will be under his care too, and dismisses the men who leave satisfied. Other neighbors question the prot because they feel they have the right to ask for more things, and he goes away saying that certain people can earn more than others, kind of planting a feeling of jealousy among the residents. Returning home, lying on their sofa, he says it's a matter of time. Things are going as he thought, and soon everyone will be piled up in the snow. Now he must put the second part into practice of his plan. Early the next day, he went in search of food, and this time he made sure to get enough to have for everyone. With the hunger spreading, he used the poison he saved before. The plan was going very well, but will the leaders will not turn against him at some point? It is to be expected that they should not accept being dominated by a single person, and must be up to something more than their absolute power to possess several weapons, or makes it impossible to defeat. He decides it's time to attack again, returning home with much more food. Then he asked his uncle Yu and the others to be here to protect him. This time the leaders came to take their meals. The look between the leaders says that there is something wrong happening, but Proto didn't realize that when it was his turn. From Building 21, he turns away, as always, to get his supplies, and is surprised they shout to attack now, and they draw their weapons. Shots are fired. A person took the lead to protect the Proto. With his guard down, he went caught, and the only person he trusted was the one who went ahead to save him from the shots. The one who saved him was his uncle Yu. Confident that the Proto was not armed, one of them came from behind to finish the job. At that point, he did not worrying about hiding his skills, he simply pulls out some CS nonsense and starts to make everything pop up ahead. No matter the absurd amount of people, nothing could resist a nervous finger on the trigger. The group of traders tried to run when they lost hope of overturning in the Proto, but one by one they were all being overturned in the ballast in the coconut. When his ammunition ran out, he simply discarded the weapon and took out two others. Leaders Wang Qian and Tian Fong beg for their lives, saying that they are not accomplices, but God is the one who forgives them. They didn't smoke cigarettes again. The last one left was Shanling, and she said, "It really has nothing to do with it, and it should be true." She also says that she has a 13-year-old daughter to look after. Without any real hope, the Proto flips over with Tico on the body after knocking over the everyone. Now yes, maybe he has some real guilt, says he's sorry, but he can't let tigers come back alive to their homes. Behind him a sea of hams everywhere, and to Proto's surprise someone there was alive. Returning to see who it was, he notices that his uncle Yu was breathing rapidly from the warehouse. He took out a injection of adrenaline and applies it to his chest. Two people from Building 25 were there to shout for them to come help them carry him to get to the top of the building. On the way, May saw her boyfriend injured and was left worried because he is like this, and if he dies, how will she be? How will she and her son survive with the fact that if a woman is only thinking about how she will lose her benefits if her uncle dies, it's already pissed off. So much so that he told her to shut up and not to worry about the woman's reaction, so he changed it by saying that if old you not survive, she also won't resist. If that happens, the old man dies, he must take care of his son. To understand properly why she was making conclusions, she doesn't know if he's going to live by any chance. She wants the old man not resist. Xa half starts crying, shouting that no, her husband has to live. Tired of listening to her, he puts the standing behind Uncle. In the woman's head, Uncle Yu is her winning ticket to live a comfortable life, and she can't let it slip away. So she followed Proda to the door of the house. Proda says that they should go back now, but the woman insists that her husband needs her by his side at this moment because consideration to his uncle, who really likes the woman. He thinks about it and lets her stay and enter. When he opens the front door, your house, the colors even change. The air outside, it's cold, inside it's hot. Me even cries with emotion. This is the place she had been dreaming of living for so long, and now she was here while Proda and Zer put the uncle inside. May goes to the kitchen to drink something without asking permission. This leaves our causal surprised. The woman comes back all happy without any worries, asking if they have powdered milk right away. She was so angry seeing this. She realized this and said it's for the baby. Uncle Yu really likes the baby, so make it clear that the focus now is on the uncle. He went to a different room in the house and took a hospital gurney. I don't know if she saw him do it or not, because she asked if he just did a trick. Magic that _ is this. Ignoring the woman, he asked Sok if she needed any equipment or too much medicine. It was necessary to do anything to save her Uncle Yu. She cut her uncle's shirt, and location of the bullets indicated damage to internal organs. In these situations, she says it seemed impossible to save her uncle. Upon hearing this, May starts screaming, crying, and if the old man dies, how will I live? How will my daughter live? How will we be if the old man dies? Angry, he pointed at her, saying that if she gets in the way again, there will be serious consequences. The woman then stopped, saying that it was better for her to leave the room. But in reality, in her head, what she thought was that there's so much food, clean, warm water. Who would want to stay in this room? The PR is realizing her intention, entered the room forward and made it clear she will stay here until the end of the surgery. She is only here because her presence was not important for her uncle. She only leaves this room when she wants to finish. He left the women there and ran down to the first floor of their building, called all the residents. They said they were betrayed, and Uncle Why might not survive now. They must attack the most of the neighbors are against the other buildings. There are more than 1,000 people, and they are few, so the prop panted, saying that they should only watch those who leave the buildings outside. They should attack the rest. He will take care of those who don't. Participating would be considered traitors, facing worse consequences than the bodies that are there. Out, and those clothes are for you. Let's go soon. The group arrived at the door of Building 21. The residents of the floors superiors realized that PRA was leading its residents. Some knew that PRA could draw weapons and not. They could do nothing but be shocked. Most only had melee weapons, and he could pull out machine guns and shooting everyone. There were also some brave people confident that on top of their buildings they were safe in silver. He got everyone to fix the window exits and went into Building 21. Arriving at the ground floor, he took a pile of wood and clothes in the storage dimension, placed them all in the lobby of the building, and then poured the fuel over everything and connected several piles of wood. Then Funny Man says that since it is very cold, he will help them stay warm. He threw his lighter into the gasoline, and the flames quickly spread throughout the building. He left there calmly as if nothing had happened, smoke rising through the floors, through the building stairs. Everyone was on the upper floors. They felt terrified. They screamed to open the windows, or they would suffocate to death. With the smoke, however, many in their homes now discovered that the extreme cold had frozen the window without the Tools, they wouldn't be able to break the seals. The PR, it calmly says that now the rest is up to you. Don't let. None of them escaped, and I don't know how the fire inside the building started to catch on outside, like a bonfire. As the flames increased, many of the boys couldn't stand the heat and chose to jump from the building, pulling themselves together. In the snow below, even if it didn't roll over burnt, the fall would certainly break the spines of all of them. A woman who. She was there not only because they were crawling and on fire, and she was burying her daka in his back without pity. You're crazy, guys. Not even the men around were so cold-blooded. The boyfriend was kind of nervous, asking if she was okay. When the woman turned around, she looked like a sweet angel, saying it was just work. When she felt crazier than she didn't die from the fall damage, she went there and made the kid stop suffering and gently. Building 21 was completely eliminated, guys. This is very dark. After brought led his people to the Building 26, which was led by Chan Fong. The residents, upon seeing what happened to Building 21, went into shock. Arriving there, the villagers started shouting that they were not catching Chan Fong, and they are innocent, laughing. Prota just. He said that it doesn't even matter anymore, everyone will burn anyway. A while later, this building was also completely obliterated, and a few more hours passed, and he had burned 5 buildings. His thought was that he had already. He was tired. It was too much for just one night. He told the other residents that they shouldn't worry. He knew those who are truly innocent, then they will be fine. Some saw hope and were happy, but others were already screaming that he must be tired, and that's why he won't burn them. Also ignoring the screams, Prota gave the order to his people, today that's enough. Tomorrow maybe there will be more. After enduring the cold for so long, his people said he would stay out here if heating in the fire, including the fuel for the fire. That's the one here, guys. Bro, there must be a smell. That's weird, old man. And then he went to the bodies of 2 who were his most loyal. It didn't make sense for him to cheat because they always treated them. Very curious as to why they betrayed him, he took out his cell phone to investigate, and looking at the message history, he understood why this happened. After dealing with the buildings involved in the revolt, Prota returned to his house and saw Uncle Yu. The constant rhythm of the heartbeat monitor indicated that T was well out of danger. Happy with that, he says that Zur was really the best surgeon in the city. Waited while they talked. May approached, asking her for something to eat, and her baby looking at him drawing. He took a package of noodles out of nowhere and threw it on the floor, saying that of course he's not going to leave an important guest go hungry. But the woman didn't leave it at that, and said that that wasn't enough. He could give her the eggs from the kitchen and chicken for her. Bro, right away. Prota almost exploded with rage until he was shocked by the audacity of the woman in an apocalypse complaining about ramen noodles. The pissed PR said it's ramen noodles or it's nothing, and he left there, pissed off at this woman. Going back to the room, the doctor is tired, so he went to give her legs a massage. Relaxing started there, but then went PR to the inner lips, but then went back to the legs. Zur said that the recovery Uncle Yu's was unusual during the surgery. His wounds began to heal strangely. Hearing this, the Prota had an epiphany. He suddenly concluded that with the supernova explosion, a wave of gamma rays passed through the land and must have given powers to people under some condition. Could it be that the uncle awakened some ability as his dimensional warehouse? Accepting that this was the fact, he thought then that why his uncle and he were the only ones to awaken. An idea ability of his is that the near-death state was some trigger, and he was being flipped over by Fawn Oxing, and now the uncle was being overturned by 3 bludgers in the chest, so that must be the condition, accepting that it was him. I told him not to wake up his uncle. Keep him on sedatives for now. When the time is right, he will be able to wake up. He was to the living room, and there was Sha Mei. She was looking for something to eat. As always, he threw it in her face. Her that everything was kept. There's no point in looking for anything. he also ordered her to take care of her uncle all the time. Everything he needs, and then the woman went to the room with her husband to obey orders. Right, the next step of the Proto now is to go after another traitor, so he went after the top floor of the building with the police shield in his hand, and with the gun in the other, he shot the lock. He put his foot in the door, and Xing came running with a knife in his hand and hit the shield with impact. The knife flew out of his hands, and she fell backwards. Proto says he was doing. It's been a long time since he hadn't looked better at his friend at the table, and he says he sees her as incompetent as she is. Alive, she fed on her friend lost in anger, madness, and some things more. She screams like no one else. Manages to kill this guy, and that it's his fault. If Proto had gaggled at her just a little longer, she would have chosen him, and they could have been happy in this apocalypse at this point. So I didn't even want to talk, but he hit me. Pena, who broke her tibia after dragging her by her hair, should have done that a long time ago, he says. The girl is in shock and screams that she is sorry. She is sorry. Please, please don't throw me. The prod don't even think about that. He just lets her fall, and from the top floor watches her land heavily on the snow. Happy he is, looking at the young innocent Xing lying now, having that deserves what pity. Poor Ying. The next morning, Proto went to the room to check on Uncle Yu's condition. Unexpectedly, the speed of healing time of the Tiu was several times faster than a normal person. In just one day, his gunshot wound was healed, and the PR said to monitor his situation just to be sure 100% that he is recovered. He must also be kept sedated until the right time arrives so that he can. Waking up at that moment, SH May approached and asked her to go to her house to get her cell phone charger and the diapers for the baby. He looked at his uncle and remembered that people in comas seem to hear what is going on happening around him, so that's why he was kind and said that when he finishes something important he will. Yes, he does it for her, but when he leaves the room, he says it's time to eliminate the freeloaders next. He went out to make more buildings burn and clean out all the neighbors. He says this is just eliminating threats, potentials, and this is how peace is achieved. Aaron Jedger, is you not the same Chul who got it that time, saw Proto arrive and approach, saying that he has valuable information for him, and he smiled thinking that he already had practically everything I needed. What else could be important? And my oldest son, have you heard of H. Simon, the richest man in the city? His son built a buker called Final Judgment with 2 billion money for having shown interest. SH said that they should talk in a private place, so Proto takes him there and says open the Brico Wong. Simon's refuge is in a luxury gated condominium in Proto, so he asks, and then what is your reason for telling me this? Then Wall says that the point is that there are endless supplies of food there, and the guy wants to be his helper to rob the bank. Wong Simon, Proto, already thinks this idea is ridiculous, because no matter what's in there, it's not worth taking the risk of trying to invade a place like that. So Shul says that Hang Simon already knows about the existence of the place and got in touch with himself to steal Proto's snowmobile. This information only served to leave Proto with more. Already angry, asking how Zal wanted to die, and scared, the guy shouted saying no, he wasn't going to set him up. Proto actually wanted to help Proto remember how he negotiates Proto D with a piece of popcorn on the side of his head, and says to give a good reason to leave it alive. CSP, there's a lot food. He wants to join Proto to be able to guarantee himself food and shelter, so he won't betray Proto, because he also benefits. Besides, Chul was also rich and was friends with young Simon, but he always humiliated him in front of the girls, so he wants to get revenge on him, especially revenge. Proto likes it, so he asks how Shao could help him with this. Bro Chow says he can pretend he accepted Simon's proposal, captured the Prota, and can take him into the bunker. The suspicious Prota asked how the place is safe, how many enemies to give him all the information about the bunker, but Brother Xiao says he only talks about the details. If they close a deal first, and the Prot then smilingly says that they would rather open his head with a clock or sh. So he says he knows that the Prot eliminated everyone who wasn't useful, so he won't say anything, not even about the threat anymore. That the fate of saying is the same thing as not saying after this demonstration to say that Chao is intelligent, so go. Accept to negotiate with him, the guy said happily, but Prota says he has 2 sessions. First, he needs to help Prota eliminate someone who has been commanding him for many days. He takes Chao to an apartment, and inside, he said he's going to tell his secret to Zaw. The bastard took a storage suitcase and which left the crazy guy scared without understanding what it was, but at least if it works out, he will join Prota. So his survival must be guaranteed, as Prota takes out a syringe and says he was a murderer, professional before the apocalypse. Because of this, he has survived until now, putting it in front of him and saying that this is just a guarantee. Very common and was used frequently by him. He applies it in Chul and says that it takes effect in 7 days. After they take shelter from Simon, he will give the antidote to Simon, not Chao. Now what he should do is wait for orders from PRA to eliminate a certain person, then they will run after this shelter. When Silver was alone, he said that in fact he just put water in it. This is just to reduce the chances of being betrayed, but on the way out she thinks that with the baby inside and her uncle, Prota won't let her stay locked out of the house outside, so finally she made it, and she went there with her little baby in her hand, and her cell phone to let her know by phone that the woman has already left. He fixed the problem while the bastard is playing around. The mother went to open the front door home thinking that she will never come back here again. Prota's house is so much better, and her surprise was that inside her house there was someone waiting, scared. She couldn't even try to protect herself. It was a full Tramontan, and then she was taken. And several other Tramontinas. Chul, satisfied after doing the job, sent a message to the boss saying, once the trash was taken out, she's never really going to go back to her house again, right guys? She won't even go home. Or Prota tells his uncle that now he will take care of his wife, and he will live here, but unlike his wife. Uncle says this is a lot, he shouldn't bother him so much, he already does a lot for his uncle. In the middle of the conversation, the baby starts crying, not knowing how to fix this for PRZ delivery, and says she does what she has to do and delivers. Gives her the diapers, and says if he becomes a woman, he goes back to the room to talk to his uncle again. He must live here with his woman. Being like this, the uncle says everything is fine, but she is taking a long time, and he is worried the PR, so let him know that he is going after May because she is taking too long. He went to his room to get equipped. He sent a message on building group telling all neighbors to gather in apartment 3001. He will distribute the rewards in food for everyone. So he sends an audio to Zaw's private address telling him not to go there if he wants to continue alive. After a while, everyone was in the apartment happy. Almost all the buildings were eliminated. Now they can manage to follow the para and get much more food than before. Outside Broda's apartment, hearing that they were Everyone inside didn't even enter through 2 grenades inside, and closed the door bro everyone happy, and out of nowhere 2 grenades. Appeared there wasn't even time to blink Butico, everyone was blown up at the door. Broke in and the smart guy was protecting himself with a shield, entering the room to check if the chaos was happening. Completely done, one of them survived. Angry, the guy asked why everyone helped him, why did he decide to kill them? Without mercy, the Silver says that he helped everyone, and now everyone owes their lives. He is just taking what is his. Bro, what a terrible guy, guys. The people were helping him after erasing everyone. Proto says that now he killed all the enemies from his past life, only Shinzung, that wasn't him, because he went Zer, but he gave a hose with ice. Guys, I think it was him at the front door. He says the last part of the plan. Going back inside, he says to your uncle that they have problems. The neighbors revealed themselves against them and overturned Sha Mei. They revealed themselves. They were planning, together with other leaders from other buildings, to eliminate them here. Silver says he has already taken care of everyone, but some must have escaped, and his uncle, crying, says he is to blame for this. He was angry and punched the stretcher, and this makes Silver think that uncle's power goes beyond healing. It can also be super strength. He says to him is calm. He says he is also guilty of this, and in this cruel world, they will survive together, but he can also get a new wife for his uncle, and very hot. That makes the old man all naughty, and with that Proto overcame one last problem. What Proto has is babies. Says he won't stop crying. She's tried everything and nothing works with her eyes. Proto kind of asks if she's already used it. She's embarrassed, saying that she already uses Proto here, and she can't either. Milt, then it doesn't work, guys. It looks like Proto is now going to put his safe shelter in the building and go dominate a luxury condominium full of people. If you want a continuation with this evil psychopath from Proto, comment below and leave a like saying what you think. And if you want, and again, be careful with the cold.